Stephen Curry deserves a mention in the greatest basketball players of all time debate. Yes, I know. Usually in this debate, names that are mentioned include the usual LeBron James, Michael Jordan, and sometimes even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But damn it, Curry deserves to be mentioned in this echelon of player. I mean, it's safe to say no player in the history of basketball has changed the way the entire game is played, while also changing the way teams are constructed in such a short period of time and in such a revolutionary way. Just look at the way basketball was being played 10 years ago and compared to now. 10 years ago, spacing on the court did seem to be increasing since the 2000s, but it definitely wasn't the way it is now. In today's game, spacing is at an all-time high because teams are still trying to copy the blueprint that the Warriors laid down after Stephen Curry's boom in the mid-2010s, specifically during his second MVP season during the 15-16 season. And 10 years ago, teams like the Heat, Spurs, Celtics, and Thunder were always thought of as the top contenders in the league. And now let's look at the makeup of the teams. Generally, these teams were all led with superstars who could carry the load and solid role players. But the role players' qualities varied from team to team. In today, some teams are willing to pay an absolute bag just to players to come in and be spot-up shooters because shooting is so important in today's league. And the Curry effect is perfectly encapsulated in the Duncan Robinson contract. Aside from this year's playoffs, we hadn't really seen Duncan Robinson put the ball on the floor, and it's understandable why. Some players like Robinson are played strictly to spot up and shoot threes, and guys like Clay and Curry have managed to raise the value of these shooters, which is why Duncan Robinson signed a 5-year, $90 million contract back in 2021. And at the time, this was the largest contract signed by an undrafted player until Fred VanVleet signed his most recent contract. And although many people were skeptical of this deal, you couldn't entirely blame the Heat for offering this contract to Robinson because at the time, his shooting was historical and he was on pace to become an all-time great shooter. Not that he still isn't. But at the end of the day, he's a role player and sometimes he is unplayable. But Curry's effect has allowed these shoot-only players to get huge contracts. And this is the same reason why a guy like Luke Kennard earned himself a 4-year, $56 million contract back in 2020. Outside of contracts, one of the biggest indicators of how Curry changed the game was the makeup of the late 2010s Rockets teams, with James Harden commanding the offense alongside Chris Paul and then eventually Russell Westbrook. Now, Mike D'Antoni had introduced the formula where he would allow Harden to go toe-to-toe with whichever defender the opposing team threw at him, and his otherworldly offensive abilities would allow him to at least score, get a free throw, or kick out to one of the shooters on the wing. And due to this formula, the Rockets went through a plethora of shooters who they hoped could play alongside Harden and justify their insane amount of three-point attempts per game. And these Rockets rosters had guys such as PJ Tucker, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, Gerald Green, Ryan Anderson, and Austin Rivers, who were all essentially told to be 3-point, if not 3-and-D players. Stand on the wings while Harden goes to work and make at least 35% of your threes is what they were told. Evidently, this style of basketball did not work because the Rockets did basically eliminate the mid-range game and exchange it for a higher percentage of threes, which the analytics favored, but the abundance of threes would be their ultimate downfall because in their best chance to play for a championship, in Game 7 of the 2018 Western Conference Finals, the Rockets would miss 27 threes in a row and fall to the KD and Curry-led Warriors. And they would have a few more playoff runs after this monumental collapse, but everyone knew that this series, in which they were up 3-2 on the Warriors, was their best chance to prove that the formula worked. But again, the point isn't to bash Houston. It's to show how Curry has changed the game and how the game has been played, because I know D'Antoni is known for his revolutionary fast-paced offenses, but we can say that Curry is the reason that the Rockets' front office even had the gall to attempt to run their offense this way. And after examining how the game has changed, let's just take a look at Curry himself, without even mentioning the style of play. Curry's accolades include 4 rings, 2 MVPs, one of them being unanimous, and he's still the only player to ever do so. Although LeBron was robbed in 2013 of achieving the same feat, and I'm not going to get into that. And Curry also has the Finals MVP, although one could argue that he should have at least one more because back in the 2015 Finals, Iguodala won it for holding LeBron to averaging a bunch of points, a bunch of rebounds, and a bunch of assists. But hey, poor efficiency, right? even though the next best Cavalier that series was Timofey Mozgov. But anyway, Curry is already the all-time leader in threes, and he's still basically in his prime. So that record is going to be shattered, completely just destroyed. And these accolades are insane for a 6'3", below-average athlete who I wouldn't necessarily call an underdog, since his dad played in the league and he's, had access to all the great resources to get to the league. But no one would have predicted this type of career or this type of greatness out of Curry, even after his amazing run at Davidson. And one of the reasons I think that Curry deserves a mention in the greatest of all-time argument is this. And it's really simple. The ultimate goal of basketball is to put the ball in the net more than your opponent. And you must find any means necessary to do so, whether in a layup form, mid-range, free throws, threes, it doesn't matter. The goal is just to score the ball and do it more than your opponent. And no one on this planet, not MJ, not Kobe, not KD, and not even LeBron, holds the gravity that Curry does on the offensive end, which makes it so easy for the Warriors to score and the players around him to thrive. Because Curry is the greatest shooter ever in every aspect, the volume, the range, the efficiency, the ability to do it on and off the ball, Curry is simply better than everyone else at shooting because he has mastered all these things. And because of that, he has opened the game up for so many other players like Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and even guys like Jordan Poole. And because of Curry, a minimally skilled offense player like Draymond has been able to make a career out of giving effort on defense and then basically running the point for the Warriors and setting screens while putting the Splash Bros in position to rain threes. And if you put Draymond next to many other superstars in the league, his impact just isn't the same. But playing with Curry has elevated him into the Hall of Fame status, despite the low counting stats. And be assured, Draymond Green will be a Hall of Famer. So again, offensively, there's nothing that Curry can't do. And he's not a traditional point guard, but that shouldn't be held against him because he's a winner. You'll hear older fans complain that he's a combo guard and he can't rank highly because he's not pass first. But that's ridiculous because the ultimate goal is to win and his style of play and greatness has led him to 4 rings. And there's no book that says the point guard has to be a guy who averages double-digit assists. Just because his play style is different doesn't diminish his greatness. And really the only thing Curry hasn't mastered is being an all-time great defender. But really, he's not that bad. He's truly not as bad as some people might say. He even led the league in steals once. And he has his moments on defense, his quick hands, and ability to play the passing lanes. And shoot, if he was an elite defender, he'd be the greatest two-way player ever. And Curry is now 35 years old. Back in the day, this would be an age where a player was starting to slow down and think about retiring. But Curry still has so much left in the tank. And I mean, shoot, he just won a title over a year ago at the age of 34. And aside from injury here or there, he's still almost the same player he was in 2016, if not better. So when he retires, he's going to have the longevity, he's going to have the numbers from his peak, and he's going to have the impact. And you know what? He's going to have an argument for being the greatest basketball player of all time, no matter what anybody says. This guy changed the game, helped other people profit, and got a lot of people paid. Let me know what you guys think about Stephen Curry and his legacy. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.